Welcome to Education Lounge.
Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we have a seriously fascinating topic lined up for you. We're going to completely unpack the foundation of what makes you, well, you. You know, we spend so much time analyzing our own behavior, right? And the behavior of the people around us. We usually just blame our quirks and habits on how we were raised or our current environment. But what if the blueprint of your personality was actually drafted long before you ever had a say in the matter? What's literally driving our behavior at the absolute most fundamental level? Let's get into it. Well, today, we're looking at a theoretical framework that leans heavily into the idea that our biology is actually doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, the biology of human behavior. Second, Eysenck's personality framework. Third, the 3 key dimensions. And fourth, the genetic connection. Part 1, biology of human behavior. The hardware of humanity. To get us started, let's quickly define our lens here. Biological and genetic theory is an approach within psychology that examines exactly how biological processes and genetic factors influence human behavior, personality traits, and mental health. So we aren't looking at your childhood environment or social conditioning right now. We are looking squarely at the biology inside of you. The big paradigm shift here is super succinct, but it's powerful. The core idea is that there is a strong biological and genetic basis for our unique personality traits, meaning your traits aren't just habits you picked up along the way or learned behaviors, they are deeply rooted in your physical biology. It essentially suggests that in the exact same way genetics might determine your eye color or how tall you are, they are also laying the groundwork for whether you're naturally outgoing or, say, naturally anxious. Moving on to part 2, Eysenck's personality framework, mapping the mind. And Eysenck's framework brilliantly illustrates exactly how that biological theory is put into practice. Think of this whole process like a car engine. It starts at the very beginning with your genetic predispositions. These are the inherited tendencies you get from your parents. But you know, genes don't just magically turn into behavior out of nowhere. Instead, they flow right into the middle step, physiological elements. Your genetics literally build the biological factors in your body, like your nervous system's baseline level of arousal. And finally, those physiological elements manifest into the final step, your everyday personality traits. It's a really clear, direct flow. Invisible genes to physical biology to visible behavior. Part 3, the 3 key dimensions, your biological signature. Eysenck argued that this biological flow ultimately clusters into 3 primary dimensions of personality. We've got extraversion versus introversion, neuroticism versus stability, and psychotism versus normality. Every single person watching this explainer falls somewhere on the spectrum for all 3 of these dimensions. So let's do a fun little diagnostic deep dive into each one and see how they contrast. Our first biological setting is the spectrum of extraversion versus introversion. On one side, we have extraversion, craving high stimulation, loving that social interaction. On the other side, we have introversion, naturally preferring a quiet book and avoiding overstimulation. Ask yourself right now, which of these do you relate to more? According to Eysenck's model, if you are highly extroverted, your physiological baseline of arousal is actually quite low. Think of the extrovert who feels sluggish and literally needs the thumping bass of a crowded room to feel awake. Conversely, if you're an introvert, your biological baseline is already highly stimulated. You might feel perfectly energized sitting in a completely silent room, and you'd find that exact same party physically exhausting. It isn't just a preference, it's actually your biology seeking equilibrium. Pretty wild, right? Next up, we move to neuroticism versus stability. This dimension is all about how your physiological elements dictate your emotional responses. Neuroticism basically means being highly emotionally reactive to your environment. A minor stressor pops up and boom, it triggers a major biological response. On the other end is stability, which means maintaining a balanced baseline, even when the environment gets completely chaotic. Imagine 2 people missing a flight. A highly neurotic nervous system triggers a massive, panicked biological response to that stressor. But a highly stable nervous system? It processes the exact same event with a calm little shrug. Once again, it's your inherited genetic predispositions constructing a nervous system that is either biologically wired to react quickly to stress or wired to just chill out. And the final dimension rounding out Eysenck's model is psychoticism versus normality. Now, the naming conventions here are a little clinical for sure, but the contrast is crystal clear. Psychoticism refers to a biological tendency toward extreme independence and nonconformity. Think of the rebellious entrepreneur who just gleefully breaks all the industry rules. That is high psychoticism. Compare them to the highly cooperative, empathetic team player who values group harmony above everything else. That's normality, tending toward typical societal conformity and working super well within standard social structures. These are the 3 core expressions of your biological hardware at work. Which brings us to part 4, the genetic connection. The ultimate takeaway is this unbreakable link between genetics and personality traits. The model we just walked through, it doesn't happen by accident. It happens because there is this unbroken chain starting at your very DNA, building your physiological responses, and finally resulting in the personality that your friends and family see every single day. Which leaves us with this final thought. Think about your own habits for a second, your own reactions to stress, your own desire to go out to a massive party or just stay in and read a book. How does knowing your biological predispositions change how you view your own daily behavior? If you realize that part of your personality is really just your genetic hardware doing its job, does it make you a little more forgiving of yourself? Does it change how you view the actions of the people around you? It's an absolutely fascinating lens through which to view human nature. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.